Good morning. It's just coming on 4:30 in the morning. I've been driving for about 2.5 hours now. That's me heading back down to Port Patrick. It's about a 340 mile drive. I went to bed and I couldn't sleep. A mixture of excitement and I'm a wee bit concerned that, you know, something's wrong with the boat, so I'm a wee bit concerned because the boat was left there for a few days, so I couldn't really sleep, and I decided just to get up and start driving it just after 2, so I should get there about 9 AM, and hopefully all goes well. But what a beautiful morning. Let's hope the weather stays with me. The next 5 days from Port Patrick up to Gigha, and then from Gigha up to Kintyre, and then Kintyre up to Mull. The weather's all supposed to be really good and in my favour, so let's hope it stays that way. The wind's actually supposed to be at my back tomorrow, so I think the current turns or slack water's about 3 AM tomorrow. And then from 4 the current's in my favour to go through the North Channel and right round. So hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully I don't get wind against tide and things like that. And, you know, hopefully I get some enjoyable days sailing and I get to do some exploring, things like that. I might even get to play with that wee drone, because I'm quite happy with the results of it so far. Anyway, let's see how it goes. I'm happier now that I'm on the way. You know, that not knowing is always the most kind of anxious time. So I'd be as well just driving down now, and I can catch a couple of hours sleep once I'm down at the boat and I see that everything's okay. But let's crack on and see how it goes. Well, that was a long old drive, but I've arrived and she seems safe and sound so far anyway. I'll have to get across to her and see how she's doing. I might try and get her onto this wall, get her next to the stairs so I can load her up, because I've got quite a lot of stuff to put in her. Good morning. It's just after 2:30 and I'm starting to get ready because high tide is about 3:45. And today's the day. I'm hoping to get from Port Patrick right across the North Channel and round the Mull of Kintyre. The wind is gradually building, but it should be with the current until about 11 o'clock. So, wish me luck. As it happened, I didn't really need luck because I got brilliant weather the whole way around. I mean, as you can see, it's absolutely perfect. The only thing it was missing was a slight bit more wind. But what an absolutely gorgeous morning to start my journey. I couldn't believe how beautiful it was. The weather, as I said, was absolutely perfect. And the whole day, you know, the only thing I seen was a couple of ferries and they were well away from where I was. The wind and current was behind me, and by the time I went round the Mull of Kintyre I was actually doing 14 knots. I was slightly concerned that I was going too fast, so I furrowed in the Genoa slightly, but I think, to be honest, it was more to do with the current rather than the wind, because I mean I had 15 knot winds behind me, and even when I furrowed in the Genoa slightly, it only dropped my speed by about 0.2 of a knot. So I think it was mostly current. But what a day I had. It was absolutely amazing. If you look in the distance there, you can just see Ailsa Craig in the background. Looks absolutely amazing set behind that, or set in front of that red sky. It was actually at this point that I started to think about recording things that I'd actually like to remember. And this here was just coming up to Sandy Island and going round the Mull of Kintyre just as the sun started coming above the horizon, so I thought I'd record it. As you can see by the sea state, it was perfectly calm all day. I'd go as far as to say this was actually the best day I'd had so far. It was absolutely amazing the entire day. It got a wee bit windier once I'd anchored up that night, but nothing much. This is me just starting to round the Mull of Kintyre. You can see how far offshore I am, so I wasn't getting any turbulent water or anything like that. As I said, it was an absolutely amazing day all round. By the time I'd got to the Mull of Kintyre, the current had just started slackening off. So by the time I went round it fully, I had slack water, and then as it started to pick up again, the current was in my favour on the way up to the Isle of Gigha. The wind was coming from the east, so I decided not to anchor in Gigha, but instead push another few miles further north to a small anchorage that I knew up there, that was a bit more sheltered from the east, and it turned out to be quite a good move. I will have to go back down at some point and explore Gigha because it looks absolutely stunning. So aye, that's coming in a future video. Well, that was a really good day's sailing. I started off this morning in Port Patrick, and I got round the Sound of Mull. No, I didn't. I got round the Mull of Kintyre. I had both sails up, just the small genoa still, but even so, going round the Mull of Kintyre there, I was doing 14 knots, so I got the current perfect. I stayed about 3 miles out because I didn't want to get into all that water. I wanted a nice, clean, happy sail today, and that's exactly what I got. I had to put the waterproofs on. I got a bit of rain, but other than that, perfect day for it. I've done 75 miles in about 9 hours, just under 9 hours, so that's pretty good going for me. I was going to go into the island of Gigha, or Gigha as I used to call it, but there's a northeast wind coming there, so it's not very sheltered for the northeast. So there's a small anchorage here in Loch Torridon, or Loch Stornoway. It's been a long couple of days. Aye, in Loch Stornoway, just across from here. You have to be careful because there's a few big rocks coming in, but once you know your way in here, there's a good wee sandy anchorage, and it's pretty sheltered from northeast and east. So if you're ever in this direction or in this area and Gigha's got a swell or it's too windy, you can always nip over here. Just as I said, come in really slow because there's a few big boulders. I mean, they're on navionics, most of them, but come in nice and slow, and aye, as you can see, it's nice and calm, and it's nice and flat and smooth. But we're going to get a windy, rainy night, so I've got all the sails packed away. I've got the sail bags and things on. Hopefully tomorrow I'll get round as far as Oban, or the Isle of Mull, or Kintyre. We'll see how far I get with the weather. I'll have to have a look and see what the currents are doing and avoid the Corryvreckan, because I don't want to go spinning round in that whirlpool all day. But aye, that was a really good day's sail. I'm really happy with that. It's been a long few days. I mean, yesterday I was up for about 36 hours. And then I got about 3 hours sleep last night, so I'm quite tired just now, but I'm quite buzzing with that sail, so aye. I'm going to get a few things tidied away, get some food, and then I might get an early night. But aye, that went much better than I thought, so happy days. Anyway, let's crack on. You know, sorry about the hand. It's a wee bit windy and a wee bit rainy tonight, but I'm absolutely loving this. I think that few days back home has really reset me, and I'm re-energised and refocused and ready to go again. I mean, it was 9 weeks that I was at it before, so aye, I think I was due a couple of days off, and it's really done the trick, because aye, as I said, I'm refocused and I'm absolutely loving this. I'm just sitting in the cockpit here doing my dishes and talking to the seals. Don't tell anybody, but aye, they're actually good conversationalists. But aye, I mean, I'm absolutely loving this, and I can't wait to get back home so that I can share this with my wife, and so that I can get some of the stuff done that I want to do. I mean, I'll show you this just now if I can. See, even things like this. This is the step going into the salon, and just over the years there's a wee bit of water. It's sunk slightly. I think with everybody standing on it over the years and movement of the boat. And when I get home, I'm going to grind that down back to fiberglass, and I'm going to relayer it so that it runs off and down into the drains where it's supposed to, instead of pulling there and then getting the inside wet. But I mean, there's a million wee jobs like that I can't wait to crack on with. Just tiny wee quality of life things like this. You see the cracks in that? Every time I've got to go up that side, I'm in a hurry for something, and I'll grab onto it and run past it, and I'll put splinters in my fingers. And it's not the end of the world, but aye, I mean, it'd be nice just to go up there with a brand new bit of mahogany on there, and not get splinters every time. But aye, I'm far more positive now. I think I was probably just a wee bit burned out, trying to push all the time, and the weather kind of hold me back and things. I got some new wet weather gear there when I was back as well, so I've made some investments and it's really paying dividends for me. As I said earlier on, it was raining during the day, and the jacket made me an awful lot more comfortable. It kept me dry and it completely stops the wind, so I didn't go in the boat today feeling absolutely frozen to the bone. So aye, all these small changes add up to a big thing. But aye, I'm going to stop waffling onto the camera, and I'm going to go back to talking to the seals. As I said, they're really good. Good morning. It's not too bad this morning. Just a slight breeze, a wee bit overcast. Thankfully it's calmed down a wee bit. There was a kind of 30 to 40 knot wind that blew up last night that just wasn't forecast at all. So it made things quite uncomfortable. But we're good to go this morning. I'm looking at heading past the Corryvreckan. I'm not going to go through it. I'm going to take the safer route and hopefully end up at Kintyre today. And I'll stage myself ready to go through the Sound of Mull tomorrow. Well, it's a nice calm day so far. There's no wind, so I'm having to motor. I'm going up the Sound of Jura just now, and it's really good to get into waters that I recognise and that I know relatively well. Having said that, this can be quite a treacherous stretch of water going up past the Corryvreckan and things. So I'm going to have to keep my wits about me, but all going well, I should get up past the Corryvreckan and up to the Isle of Gigha. There's a wee anchorage just to the south of the island there. So hopefully we'll get in there in about 5 or 6 hours and stage ready for the Sound of Mull tomorrow. But aye, it's all this so far has been strange coastline. You know, coastline that I've never been before. But I'm starting to get into areas now that I know and I recognise, so aye, it's really good. Feeling much happier. As I said, this one can be quite dodgy. The whirlpools and the standing waves in the Corryvreckan are legendary. My granddad used to call it the Kraken because of the amount of men it's taken over the years. But aye, let's see how it goes and let's hope it stays like this today. And I'll get a nice safe passage. Well, that's we just gone out into the Sound of Jura proper, and where all those kind of heavy clouds are in the background, that's the Isle of Jura there. So let's hope we can get a safe passage up here today and it doesn't rain too hard. But as I said earlier on, aye, it feels really good to be in waters that I recognise. It gives me a lot more confidence. So hopefully today we'll get to Kintyre, then tomorrow through the Sound of Mull and up to Mull, and then Sunday from Mull up through Loch Ailsa and into the Minch, up past Corryvreckan and into Gairloch for kind of between 5 and 7 o'clock, something like that. As you can see, I just hit some turbulence there, just hit some undertows, so I'm going to get off this camera and I'm going to focus on what I'm doing before I end up getting into the wrong water. I don't know if you can see that dark lighting in the water there, that's where the current changes and it's causes undertows and things, and it gets quite rough. As I said, it can be quite treacherous here. I'm just at the start of this, so hopefully it doesn't get too bad for me. But if I'd have went further up, it'd have been an awful lot rougher. Let's see how it goes. You see how the water's got an awful lot lumpier and spikier in a very short space of time. That's because the sea beds went from 100 metres up to 60 in the space of 100 yards. And with the current ripping as hard as it does up here, it can make it, as you can see, it can make it quite lumpy very fast. So you've got to have your wits about you. That's the seabed's starting to go back down again. That's it down into the 70s and 80s again. So I mean, there's a lot of things like this that you've got to keep an eye on. But I can see the water starting to even back out further out there, so aye, we'll just keep going, we should be okay. We've got another one coming up just here in a few metres. You can see where the water's nice and flat here, and then it just goes dark and really choppy. And then a few hundred metres in front of that you can see where it clears up again. That's where the water's getting thrown up over the top. I mean, if you see there, I'm doing 10 knots, but it's only 30 metres deep. and that's came up over the space of just a few metres again, and it's because of that wee island up there. So aye, this area is no one to be underestimated, so just keep your wits about you. You've got to pick your tide and your weather, because I mean there's absolutely no wind today, and the current's with me, and aye, you can see how it is just now. I mean, because I know this area a wee bit better, it's not too bad. I know what bits I can nick through where the current's at its slowest, but as you can see, I'm still doing 9.9 knots, nearly 10 knots, and I've only got 25% throttle on just now. So you can see how people can get into trouble quite easily here. You see how this area is quite glassy, and then all of a sudden round about it, it's very spiky. You can actually feel the current changes on the rudder, on the tiller. I mean, that's it, went back down to 85 metres and it's still like this. I'm still doing nearly 10 knots. But there's a small island out there. I want to get past that before I start heading properly north, so that I don't get pulled into the rocks there. That's us down to about 105 metres depth. So you can see the state of the water, and you can work out just how much water gets pulled through here with the tide. Now, I'm going through this probably an hour after high water, but if there was any weather at all, I would be trying to go past the Corryvreckan at slack water, when there's the least current. The reason I'm going through this now is to try and make as much gains off the current as possible. That's the current falling now, so I'm gaining an extra kind of 4 knots of speed just using the current in my favour. But those small islands just out there, if you cut across too late, the water kind of funnels you through that area, and it's quite rocky and can be dangerous, so you've got to get out into the main channel before then. But as you can see, that's it, all flattened out again, and it'll be like this until we actually start passing the Corryvreckan. We're doing 9 knots just now on about 25% throttle, so we're making good time. I'll tell you what an amazing view. Absolutely stunning. Now that I've passed these wee rocky islands here, I'll head back over towards the mainland a bit and just give the Corryvreckan plenty wide berth so that the current doesn't start sucking me over towards it too much. This is just coming up to the Corryvreckan now. As you can see, if you get the conditions and the timing right, it can look really placid. And I say look because we're actually doing 11 knots just now, and I've still only got the engine on about 25% throttle. So although it does look placid, the current's fairly ripping through here. If you get the conditions right, you can go through it no problem. Having said that, it is, I think, the 3rd biggest whirlpool in the world, so it's not to be underestimated. But if you get it right, you can pass through safely. Loads of people do pass through Corryvreckan every year without any incident. As for me, the only whirlpool I want today is one of the whirlpools in the big hot in the big hot tubs with steaming hot water. I don't want a frigid 11°C whirlpool, thank you very much. I'll just pass through and keep on going until I get to Kintyre. Now, it just occurred to me, I keep on referencing the fact that I've got the outboard at about 25% throttle. To put that in perspective, on a normal passage where there's no much current, 25% throttle will get me about 5.5, maybe 6 knots. So I'm doing 11.3 knots just now, which means I've got 5.3 knots roughly of current in my favour. So whenever I'm kind of referring to 25%, that's a benchmark that I've given myself. You know, it runs nice, it does about 5.5, 6 knots, and it doesn't use too much fuel. So if I'm saying to you I'm only using 25%, that's about normal speed or a normal throttle, and it gets me 5.5, 6 knots. So if I'm doing 11.5 knots, then the current's fairly ripping. This wee island just across for the mouth of the Corryvreckan, I always keep it on the starboard bow just until I get past it. That gives me plenty of space so that the current of the whirlpool and the water getting pulled through the Corryvreckan doesn't affect the boat too much. It usually gives for a nice calm passage. I mean, I'm still sitting in 88, 90 metres of water, so there's plenty of water here. It's nice and deep and the current's relatively slow. My speed is slowed from 11.5 knots to 8.5 knots because I'm not actually going round with the main body of water through the Corryvreckan. But you can see how calm it is now. I mean, the tide's in full retreat, it's going through here, but in decent weather and things, you can get through here quite safe. You can see all the flat pieces of water and where it's lumpy and things. These are changes on the seabed and the water's getting pulled up over it. But that's us back up to 11 knots now. So we're on the outside of the wash, getting pulled through the channel that I want to go through, rather than the Corryvreckan. But as I said, I always just keep this wee island here with my starboard bow, and I've never really had any issues. And that's us just going past the mouth there. You can see all the kind of flat spots and things on the water. But as I said, I'm far enough across that the current isn't really pulling on the boat that much. Well, it's certainly not trying to pull me through. As you can see, the conditions are perfect. It can get quite challenging on a heavy day. I mean, I'm halfway through the lunar cycle as well, so on spring tides and things, it can be a lot different. But as I said, I always just keep that wee island up my starboard bow. I mean, if you look at it just now, I'm passing. I'm literally 200 metres off the island, and I've still got 50 metres of water under me. A lot of people get worried in case they're going to hit a rock or things. But I mean, I couldn't quite chuck a tennis ball on it yet. But I'm a couple of 100 metres off. The water's nice and calm. It looks like I've got about 3 knots of current with me just now. Perfect day for it to pass through. Absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but over there it looks like the teepees and glamping pods and things. But I'm far enough across today that I can't see any whirlpool or anything like that. So, happy days. I should have a calm passage. If you can see this still kind of glassy effect here, this is where the whirlpool usually is on the other side. But aye, because of the way the current's running now, it's sitting nice. I'm right in the middle, and I'm doing 7 knots. And I know, you know, I've got 2 days sailing still before I get to Gairloch. But I've just noticed how much calmer I am today. It feels like I'm kind of home already because I'm in waters that I know. So my stress levels went way down. And I'm actually whistling away to myself, quite happy, enjoying this. It's good to be going through coastline and things that I recognise rather than trying to work out if I'm getting it right or not. This is coastline that I've been going up and doing my entire life, so aye, it's good to be back. That there is the Isle of Gigha. A gorgeous wee white cottage up in the hill there. So on a nice day it must be absolutely beautiful, but in the middle of the winter it must feel quite desolate. And then we've got past there and on to Runga, which is one of the slate islands where they used to mine all the slate back in the day. But I'm heading up between these two lighthouses. You can't quite see them yet, but they'll start coming into view pretty soon. I'll go between the two lighthouses and then up towards Kintyre. This guy absolutely flying. Must be in a hurry to get somewhere. That's me just passing Flada Lighthouse now. So we'll just go into the main straight there and then up towards Kintyre. Just behind that, the land that you can see over there is the Isle of Mull, and hopefully I'll get through the Sound of Mull tomorrow. You can see the water here at Flada Lighthouse as well, with all the undertows and things. This can be quite rough. This is where the water comes out the Sound of Jura as well and meets the main current, so aye, it can get quite interesting here at times as well. So we're just heading up towards Easdale Island up there, and I'll go around that and then head straight to Kintyre. But it's been an absolutely perfect day so far. It's absolutely gorgeous. You know, this wee area round about Mull and Kintyre and up towards Oban, there's more sailboats here than I've seen since the Solent. There's actually 17 years in this one area. It's cool to see a lot of people actually sailing, because there's been areas that I've went for kind of 2 days and no seen another boat of any kind, never mind just sailing. So aye, it's been a really good sailing day. Well, I'm just going into the Sound of Mull just now. Conditions have been really good today and I've been making good time, so it's only midday. I'd be as well doing the Sound of Mull today and I'll let me get further on tomorrow. Aye, let's see how far we go. Well, I think the video at this stage is starting to get quite long, so I'm going to leave it there. if you enjoyed this video, please do me a favour and like, share and subscribe. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.